Hey guys, Gareth from Park Cameras here, and today we're doing a slightly different kind of video. So we're not doing a new gear review, we're not out shooting, we're going to be talking about editing photos. And that's a big part of photography, so it's important to cover that as well. Now in particular, in this video, I want to talk about one specific thing, and it's a bad habit that I think a lot of us can fall into. I know I definitely have, and it's overlooking photographs that don't look good straight out of camera. So you could be out on a shoot, getting some great landscape photos, getting some great portrait, whatever it is, cityscape, loads of stuff. You come back, you load them on the computer, you pop them into Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever it is that you use. In this case, it will be Lightroom. And you start going through them, and there will be some in there that do not look good straight out of camera. They just don't look good. But they need some tweaking. They need some work on them. And they can look really, really good. And I've got some examples here that I wanted to share with you of photos that I would have overlooked in the past that can actually be made to look great. So let's dive into Lightroom. So I've got 4 photos here. This is the one I want to focus on. If there's time, we'll look at another one as well. This was shot with the Canon EOS R and the 28-70 f2 RF lens. Now, that's a lovely, lovely setup. And this was actually shot for the video that I did on that lens. In fact, if you've seen that video, you'll have already seen the finished product of this photo. But we're going to go through it quickly, and I'll just show you what I did to make it look decent, as opposed to like this. So it was late in the shoot. I've been shooting since about sunrise, and it was approaching midday. I still wanted to get some landscape shots. I still wanted to get some stuff. I did everything I could. The sun was high up in the sky now. As you can see, it's very harsh lighting. The shadows are hard. And so I did everything I could. I went to a wooded area with this lake to try and soften the light a little bit, to try and give some depth and not have so much of this incredibly bright sky. Didn't want to have like rolling hills because it's just not going to look good. So I went out there, but even so, to get a decent exposure, even though it may not look it, I had to go with something like this. And that meant that the sky is almost blown out. It's on the verge, but there's still a touch of color there. And the shadows are just completely, well, pretty much completely black. If I zoom in on the tree there, you can see there is a bit of detail, but it is really dark. Now, what I was betting on was that the shadow recovery was going to be decent enough that I could get information back, but I didn't really know what I was going to end up with. I hate shooting at that time of day, which is actually another bad habit. We'll talk about that at some other point. Well, I'll make a whole video actually about shooting in the middle of the day. I hate doing it, and I never do it because there's good photos to be taken, but I never do it because the sun is so harsh. But we'll make a video about that at some point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the highlights down a little bit to try and bring back some of the color in the sky. So as you can see, just bringing them down a touch does bring back a bit of blue, especially in the middle of the image there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is bring those shadows right up because they're so dark. I'm going to bring them all the way up to +100. And you can see that immediately brings back so much detail, so much information. And this is already looking a million times better. So let's actually have a look at the before and after. So this is before, and this is after. Now you can do that by pressing the / key on your keyboard. That's going to toggle before and after, or Y is going to give you a side-by-side comparison. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm probably going to bring the clarity up a little bit just to kind of increase the detail in these trees. I think they look really nice, and I want to kind of try and just increase that detail a little bit. It was also a very nice sunny day, so I want to bring that vibrance up. Now, personally, this is obviously an area of contention. Some people don't like this at all. I love having color in my photos. That said, I have been doing some muted photos recently, but I love having color in there. And especially on a photo like this, where it's a nice sunny day, I want to put that color. I want to make sure there's nice color in there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pop the saturation up a little bit as well, but we're going to leave the tone curve for now. We're going to come down to HSL. Now, for anyone not familiar with HSL, it stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. And it effectively allows you to affect different colors in different ways independently of each other. So for example, we're going to come over here to orange. I'm going to change the hue. I'm going to bring it down to a burnt orange kind of look. So personally, that's the kind of look that I like. I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit. I'm going to leave luminance alone. Yellow, I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. I'm going to bring that down a little bit towards the orange end of things, but I'm going to leave saturation and luminance. Now green, we've got 2 ways we can go. We can either go that way towards the yellows, and we can make a kind of autumnal looking image, or we can pull it towards the greens, which gives it a more springtime kind of feel. Now I do want to push it a little bit more towards the green because there is quite a lot of green in here. There's ivy, there's these reeds, there's leaves, and I want to retain that green in there. Aqua we haven't got much of in the picture, so I'm actually going to leave that alone. And blue, I'm going to leave the hue alone, but I'm going to increase the saturation and I'm going to bring the luminance down a little bit. And that's going to just richen those blue tones in the sky and in the water. Now luminance you want to be careful because obviously if you bring it down too much, you're going to have something looking a little bit like that. And that looks horrible. So I'm going to bring that down just enough just to bring out a little bit more blue in the sky and in the water. So that's looking good. Let's look at before and after. That's looking really nice. I'm really happy with that. Split toning I would often use to put a bit of orange in the highlights, a bit of teal in the shadows. Don't go overboard because it looks crazy. But I like that look myself, the orange and teal. So I'm gonna pop a little bit of orange into the highlights. It was a warm kind of tone day anyway. Not too much, but I'm gonna bring a little bit of teal into the shadows just to offset that a little bit. It's gonna control it, it's gonna rein it in. And they are opposites on a color wheel. So that's partially why they work so well together. Scrolling down, I'm gonna leave sharpening and luminance alone. Now, obviously this wasn't shot with a high ISO, but even if it had been, the EOS R is it's the best camera I've ever used for high ISO values, for low light shooting. So I probably wouldn't even be looking to touch it, even if we had shot high ISO. But obviously we didn't, it was a sunny day. There was absolutely no need. So I'm gonna come down here, I'm gonna leave actually all of this, including the transform, and I'm gonna pop a little bit of a vignette on there. Not too much, but just enough. And then down at calibration, there are various things you can do. So you can use this to affect the colors. Now it's generally used to correct colors, but you can use it to affect things. So I'll often, with photos, bring the red primary towards the orange and the blue primary towards the teal. Now that's gonna give you this super orange and teal looking image. That works really well for some photos. That looks great, especially in autumn. That can look amazing. And I really like the look of it in a lot of things. In this photo though, I don't like it. So I'm going to change that back as it was. And actually, I'm really happy with how that looks. So I'm going to come all the way back up the top here. There's just a couple more things we can do to just really make the most of this image. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to click on this up here, an adjustment brush. And that's going to allow us to paint on some adjustments into specific areas of the photo. So in this case, I'm going to bring the exposure up for the adjustment brush. And we're literally just going to paint on some exposure on some of these trees. So I'm just going to paint that on there. Now you can adjust the brush size by using the scroll wheel. And I know what you're thinking. Don't even worry though. No need to head down to the comments yet because I agree. That's way too much. That looks ridiculous, but we're not done yet. So I'm using a higher value than I would probably go for because it's going to allow me to better see what I'm doing. That's essentially the whole reason I'm doing it with such a high exposure value, adding on +1 stop effectively. It won't be that in the end because that does look horrible, but it's a lot easier to see. Now I could use, down here you can click this, the show selected mask overlay. If I click that, it shows red everywhere that I have painted. Now, if I paint some more, it's going to put some more red on. That's also a very easy way of doing it. But in this case, I wanted to be able to see as I was painting what I was painting. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to pop a little bit on this tree here. That's fine. If it wasn't a video, I'd do it a little bit more carefully, but that's fine. Now we've got that painted in, I'm going to bring that exposure down a little bit, probably to about half a stop. Yeah, so 0.52. I think that looks pretty decent. I'm also going to add a little bit of clarity into the areas that I've painted and probably a little bit of warm tones as well because, yeah, I think that helps with the wood. I think it just helps bring out the tones there and balances the image. Now, I'm going to click done because I'm happy with that. I'm going to click adjustment brush again and I'm actually going to do a new one. This time I'm going to do some cooler tones. So I'm bringing that color temperature down to about -26 and I'm going to paint that into the water. And that's going to just bring out the blue in the water, which I think is really nice. Now, this is where we get into the subjective side of things. Some people are going to think that's way too much. The image was fine. Stop there. Please stop. Personally, I like it. The water down there is really blue. So actually, I like doing this. I like having a little bit more of a blue feel to the water. And I think ultimately it makes for a better picture, but that's totally subjective. So you wouldn't have to go this far if you didn't want to. That looks really good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to click new up here to create a new adjustment brush layer. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to get some warmer tones and I'm going to paint those reeds in the background. I'm just going to paint those in with a warmer tone because they were more kind of orange, and now because the water is blue, they don't look so vivid. So we're going to just change that up. Now I think that looks great. There's probably more I would do if I was editing this fully. I'd probably do a bit of dodging and burning, especially on the left side of the image over here, where you've got these trees. That's a lovely, lovely light. I'd probably play around a little bit with that, with dodging and burning, maybe on these trees as well. But you could do anything. You could come up here to a graduated filter, which works a little bit like a graduated MD filter, but you can apply it to the image. So for example, the sun is in the top right, so we could drag a graduated filter right the way across the image with warmer tones. So as you can see, when I turn that on and off, it's not the best example, but it does give kind of warmer tones coming from that top right. You'd probably turn that down a little bit. But yeah, that's something you could certainly add in there. I probably wouldn't actually, but you could do, there's various things you do, but you can see how much of a difference, let me take that off for a second. You can see how much of a difference we have made in just a very short amount of time, probably 8, 9, 10 minutes. I don't actually know how long this video is, but not too long at all. So if I show you the before, that's how it was out of camera. And in the past, I would definitely have at least considered just moving on, just thinking to myself, no, it's no good. I'm gonna go back there and shoot a sunset or sunrise or not at all or whatever. I'm not fussed. But actually, with just a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of time, we've got it looking like this. And that's a picture I'd happily have in my home. So I hope that's been of help. If you have any questions at all about any of the techniques or the gear that we used, pop them down in the comments. If there's anything you'd like to see specifically, if you like the Lightroom stuff that we're doing now, if you want to see anything in specific, just pop it down there. That'd be great. I love getting suggestions from you guys of what to do videos on. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Always appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe as well for more content. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.